Hello and welcome to RadioWaves, a production of Red Apples Media. You're listening to us on WLBE, my 790 AM out of Leesburg, Florida. And if you're watching on Link Sumter Television, you're watching us on Comcast Channel 13, Bright House Channel 498, and CenturyLink Prism Channel 83. So today I have to me, a very exciting topic because I don't know much about it, and there's a lot of things coming down the road. So it's going to be on PFX Athletics out of Claremont, Florida. And they were originally organized in 1996 and has a rich history, and they've come a very long way. So today I decided to bring Miss Alison Strange on the show to tell us a little bit about the organization and where they came from, what they're currently doing, and what they want to be able to do for the future. So with that said, Alison, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate you having me, and Red Apples Media. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Well, thank you for coming, really.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's get into it. What is PFX Athletics?
PFX Athletics is a nonprofit organization. As you said, we were formed in 1996. Our mission is to open the doors of opportunity for women and girls through sport. For folks interested in learning more about our history and our story, it is available online at pfxathletics.com, and that's where you can read the story about Dot Richardson, our founder, and how she became inspired to be an Olympian and ultimately a two-time Olympian, as well as an orthopedic surgeon. So she took advantage of all the opportunities that came available to her in the 70s and 80s with the Title IX legislation and college scholarships, and that's important to know because that's what we're founded on. We're founded by a very strong, powerful, and inspirational woman who gave us the dreams and visions and ideas and goals that we have and continues to inspire us today.
Okay, and I have seen your site, and it is a compelling story. I mean, she's a straight-up Olympic athlete, champion. Absolutely. And the story itself is, she almost thought that her time was up, only to find out that, you know what, I've got a shot at this. So this was a long time quest, for lack of a better term, that she was on in order to achieve that particular goal.
Absolutely. She decided at 6 years old that she was going to be an Olympian and chose the sport of fast pitch softball to do it. The irony of choosing to be an Olympian in fast pitch softball in 1968 is that there was no softball in the Olympics in 1968. So she actually waited until 1996 for that opportunity, for that dream to come true. And what inspires us and what we strive to put in the hearts of young ladies and young women and old women, it doesn't matter, but just people in general, is the idea that if you really want something, if you really have a dream, and that's the first step, is having a dream, that with persistence and patience and hard work and dedication and sacrifice, you can make that dream come true. And that's very important to us. And it touches everything that we do at PFX Athletics. And it's a piece of every component of what we do, whether it's hosting an event, running an event, having a camper clinic. There's always going to be that piece of inspiration and dream and giving a kid an opportunity to see something that she never knew existed before. And maybe, just maybe, she might be the next Olympian or the next gold medalist or the next orthopedic surgeon or the next Nobel Prize winner. You name it, anything is possible. And
so how did you find yourself getting into this? Now, with that question, the inspiration is already there, but how did you get involved? I mean, when was it softball first? Did you fall in love with softball? Did you get bored? I mean, and your mom go get out of the house, start playing? I mean, I don't know. So
no, fair question.
How'd you get into this?
I got involved in softball when I was 8 years old. Dot Richardson, in full disclosure and fairness, is actually my mother's younger sister.
Oh, is that right?
So
okay.
My mother never had a chance to play athletics or sports. She graduated high school in 1972, and Title IX legislation wasn't passed until 1972. So she had the opportunity to be a cheerleader, and she was on the powder puff team, but she didn't have the same chances that her younger sister had to play tennis and volleyball and track and softball and basketball. She didn't have those opportunities. So I grew up with this really cool aunt who lived in California, who would come home at Thanksgiving and Christmas and would bring us these old jerseys and used gloves and used bat bags, and those were our Christmas presents, and I thought they were really cool.
Yeah.
Especially the ones with red, white, and blue on them. I thought that was really neat. But in fairness, like most 6, 7, 8-year-olds, it was just really cool. It wasn't about a dream or anything at that point. But when I was 8, I distinctly remember walking into my aunt. I called her Dot back then. She didn't really get that name until about 96. She was either Dottie or Dorothy to most people. But she was always Dot to me. And I walked in my Aunt Dot's room, and it was a small room. She was one of 5 kids. So if you can picture this in your mind, it was barely big enough for a twin bed and a dresser. And every surface, horizontal or vertical, if it was there, was covered in a plaque, a trophy, a medal, something like that. Wow. And to this day, I remember a Snoopy doll in the corner that had a USA jersey on it and gold medals around its neck. And at 8, as vain as this might sound...
Now, is this how the Snoopy comes in the box, or are these like gold medals?
No, this was something that she had been given by someone. She had all sorts of custom stuffed animals, and awesome. Different companies would sponsor an event, and so she just had stuff. And at 8, that stuff was what I wanted. So it was very simple for me at 8. It gets a little more complex when you get older, but at 8, it was very clear. I just wanted a bunch of trophies. So I asked my mom, I said, hey, I want to go play softball. And coincidentally, the league that I was slated for, that I was zoned for, was the same facility that my Aunt Dot had started playing on.
Really?
So I quite literally walked in her footsteps, rounding first and second and third, and to score runs in my very first years of playing ball. And so she was always an inspiration for me. She was always something that was there that I looked up to. She was a really cool aunt who brought really cool friends home. And as I got older, I realized that she was more than that to a lot of people, and she became more than that to me as well. So she stands for something that I stand for, and that I hope to maybe just inspire in the hearts of some little girl, some little boy somewhere.
Oh, that's great. Now, for the listeners, and like I spoke about before the show went live, what some of this stuff, the terminology, I'm not real clear on. What was the legislation, or the 9?
Title IX.
Title IX.
It's the educational amendment. Title IX was 1972. It was passed, and it was actually an educational amendment that regulated federal funding for programs to require equal participation for boys and girls. And that's going to be the simplest way to describe it.
Yeah. I bet.
It's very complex.
Basically a door opener.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in the late 70s, early 80s, that legislation was determined to apply to sports.
Okay.
And so when that happened, high schools who had football programs were put in a position of having to offer programs for women. They had, colleges who accepted federal funding had to offer programs for women. And again, it's a very complicated subject that we could come back and talk about. I did my college and law school theses on it. But it could take a while.
So you know it.
Yeah, yes, I know it. And so it takes a while to go over. But the point was, it created opportunities that weren't there before. And a lot of women took great advantage of those opportunities and set really good examples of why those opportunities were appropriate and why they were appropriate at the time.
And why not? If something they've always wanted to do and didn't have the ability to, or weren't allowed.
Well, and if you look at the College World Series as it's developed over the last 30 years, in 2015, I think it was, there were 2.3 million people watching the championship series of women's softball.
Really?
Which coincidentally surpassed baseball by about 30%. So
did it really?
Why not? Well, I'd say because people like watching fast pitch softball, because it's fun.
Oh, for sure. And, pardon my surprise, but America's ball game is baseball. That's pretty...
Absolutely. And last night's World Series was quite the game to watch.
Oh, for sure.
So that same excitement translates in the sport of fast pitch softball. And what we find is that people really enjoy watching fast pitch. Not to knock my baseball brothers. I have plenty of friends who play baseball, and I love baseball. Our game's just a little bit quicker. So it moves a little faster. And that is what we hear people say that they like and they prefer. When they prefer fast pitch, they prefer it for that reason.
Well, we need to take a break, but when we return, we're going to start talking about some of these programs, events, the leagues, and how others can get involved. So you're listening to Radio Waves. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Radio Waves. We're talking with Alison Strange from PFX Athletics in Claremont, Florida. And in the first segment, we were talking about a little bit of the history and how some of its founders and, well, the president, I don't know if I mentioned that or not, how they feel about it and what drove some of the direction, again. So, but now I want to talk about your program, some of the events that you have going on. So let's do that. My first question is it all youth? Is it all women? Is it all adult? What kind of leagues do you actually have?
Well, we like to say that we're all softball all the time, and we really provide something for everybody. We have everything from youth and community clinics where young athletes, young or old actually, can come and learn the basics of how to play, where they can come and learn the advanced of how to play. And those are usually individual or small group sessions. We offer about 6 times a year a larger group session. For example, we have the Ultimate Camp this Christmas, and we can talk about that.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely will.
That'll be a really cool one. So we do those. Then we have a travel development program, which is designed for athletes who believe they want to play softball in college. We call that our Flying Lions program. The team's called the Athletics, and that's for young girls ages 12 through 18.
Okay, now that's to prep them.
It's a college prep program.
It's a college prep program.
Yes.
So now is that a beginner level up, or is that generally young ladies who have been in the sport for a couple of years anyway?
Generally, it's going to be
exactly
young ladies who have participated in youth leagues. Maybe they're on the all-stars of those leagues. They're having a difficult time finding competition in the local market. And these programs actually play teams from all over the state and nation, depending on where we go. So that's the Athletics. And then we have a co-ed adult fast pitch league that I really want to make sure your listeners know about, because we have found we have a lot of people who have moved to this area from another part of the country where there is adult fast pitch.
Sure.
And in Florida, we don't have a lot of it. So we actually have a co-ed.
Really?
Yep.
That's kind of surprising, being the Sunshine State.
I know. It surprises me too, especially considering what I know about softball in Florida. But there's a long history there. But for the most part, fast pitch has been a West Coast, Northeast sport for adults in the last about 30 years. So we really are striving and working very hard to bring that back. So we do have something for adults, and in that league we have everything from ages 18 to, I think our oldest is 66, so I don't want to lock anybody in. So I'm going to say somewhere in the 60s.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And it's fast pitch, not slow pitch. And there's a lot of slow pitch leagues.
That's kind of scary. Well, for me.
Well, we hear that a lot.
Because I haven't played baseball or softball in almost a decade now. So
we hear that a lot, but it's a really fun program, and the people that participate are really excited to have the chance to participate. So they're very welcoming to people who don't know how to play or haven't played in a long time, and they really go out there and have a great time, and they look out for each other. And it is competitive, but at the same time, they get that they need each other to be able to have this opportunity. So it's a pretty cool dynamic.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it really is, because I know that I have a lot of friends, and even myself included. I'd like to get back into some of the old sports I used to play, even if when it was just in the backyard. And life has a funny way of evolving around you. Yes, and I'm too busy. I ain't got time. And then you find yourself, well, now there's just no one to play with. And you kind of give that opportunity,
Absolutely.
So now you mentioned training camps. Is that for all ages as well, or do you focus on, again, pretend like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I kind of don't.
That's fine.
But is it, what kind of range and how many types of training camps do you offer?
Well, let me start with the Ultimate Camp, because that's going to kind of show the range. The Ultimate Camp is the ultimate softball camp. So it's going to cover every piece of what we do, and it all comes together in the same event.
Okay.
This camp is actually sponsored. It's an institutional camp offered by Liberty University, where Dot Richardson is today. So she will be in town. And it's a 3-day camp. And the structure of the camp is it starts, an athlete can register for the first 2 days, the last 2 days, or the whole camp. And that becomes important because the first 2 days are primarily focused on clinical training. So it's going to be your fundamentals. This is how you field. This is how you throw. This is how you hit. Lots of storytelling, fun. Our priority was to get coaches that are not only collegiate softball coaches, but who have some connection to the Olympic or professional level as well. So when they're talking to these kids, they're not just talking about going to college. They're talking about having dreams and living their dreams.
Right, which is...
brings back to what we were talking about before.
That's the foundation.
So those are the first 2 days. And then the second day is broken down by a showcase component as well as the clinical component. And the third day is showcase. So to answer one of your questions, day 1 and 2 are open to all ages, age 8 to 18. So that's all ages. Day showcase part of day 2 and all of day 3 are for 7th graders through seniors in high school.
Okay.
Because there is a showcase component where they are competing against each other and for safety reasons.
Sure.
But on those days, it's going to be really neat where these coaches come in and have very close one-on-one connection to the athletes to instruct them. We see so much in the sport about stress on these kids to get college scholarships like it's a job.
Right.
And softball's a game. And it's supposed to be fun.
And that's a good mentality.
And so we want to, yes, give them opportunities to be seen, but we really want to give them an opportunity to fall back in love with the game if they maybe are thinking they're not quite there anymore.
Right. Or they've just had it so hard that they're like, I just don't even want to go to practice anymore.
Yep.
You know, it's this, when something's not fun.
We want to push them, but have fun while we do it.
Exactly.
And the Ultimate Camp is about that. But we've got last year's national champion coach coming out. We've got Dot coming out. She's an Olympian. We've got a Division II national champion coach coming out. I think we're at 12 right now. So registrations there. I think they're running some specials right now, but those are available at theultimatesoftballcamp.com or anyone who follows us at PFX Athletics on social media. We're on all of it. So you'll find all this stuff if you follow us on social media.
Not hard to search for.
Not hard to find.
There's a lot of information out there really is. So, and you guys also do a lot of tournaments, and I saw something about the NAIA, which is the national.
Excited about that.
I'm asking because it seems like a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Talk to me.
It is. So the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics is a division akin to the NCAA, and most people think of the NCAA, but it's another opportunity for athletes to go to college, and they have a completely different set of recruiting rules. It's a very character-based program. The NAIA they celebrate character as much as they do champions. Okay. And in fact, they have a Champions of Character program. So we are hosting the NAIA Collegiate Championship next year. So it is
from all over
national championship from athletes from all over the country will be coming here, and we are absolutely looking for people who want to be involved. Our goal is to make this the ultimate championship experience for these athletes as they come in.
That's great.
It's going to be very cool. Last week of May 2017, and we have it for 2018.
And staying in line with the collegiate, you also, what is it, the spring games or the
our bread and butter. Yep, the spring games. We keep it simple. It's the spring games. We say there's lots of spring games, but we are the spring games. Right. Last year we had 363 teams participate in the spring games. This year we're on track.
Incredible. That is incredible because it's U.S. teams and from Canada, if I'm not mistaken.
We get some from Canada, and at this point they're from all over the country. Historically, we haven't had a lot of West Coast teams, but we're starting to get more headed out. Even last year we had some teams from Washington State, and that's about as far as you can come. But we'd say it's a marathon, not a sprint, because it's a 5-week event. And if you think of it like a bell curve, we start with about 30 to 40 teams. We end with 30 to 40 teams, and it rises to the middle to about 110 to 120 teams, and then drops back down. So we are very busy in the months of February and March. I prepare people in advance. Don't send me an email, because you probably won't hear back from me. Text. But the spring games are going to be amazing. And if I can, really quick, anyone out there who's listening who is passionate about their own nonprofit, their own charity, whether it's sports related or not, girls, kids, doesn't matter. Any nonprofit can reach out to us, and we're selling community passes to Lake County residents. Okay. $30 for the entire event. $10 from each one of those sales will go back to the nonprofit who sold it. We aren't even selling these as an organization. Our teams have the opportunity to sell them. We want people to know you can only buy this if you're supporting a charitable program. And our goal is to raise $50,000 for local charities during the spring games this year. Wow. Through that program alone.
Okay. And where does this take place? Because you actually have what I would consider maybe a home field, right?
We do. Our home field is Legends Way Ballfields at the National Training Center, but the spring games this year is going to be throughout Lake County. We're going to be as far as Leesburg.
Too many games going on.
Yep. We're going to be as far as Leesburg and at Sleepy Hollow Sports Complex. We'll be there for 3 weeks this year of the 5. So it's going to be a pretty big event right there, 6 fields. It'll be very active. And then we have some fields in South Lake. And we're looking forward to really being able to make this the home of the spring games and maybe even grow it a little bit.
Yeah, and the growth, where do you see, because it seems like you guys are rolling along just fine right now with bigger, a bigger picture in mind. What is it your ultimate goal is? I mean, as an organization, and well, just to touch base again on the purpose.
Our ultimate goal, the purpose of PFX Athletics, the way I describe it to people is to create the CEOs of tomorrow. That's really the goal. And how does that connect to sports? Well, athletics teach us so many things. They teach us character. They teach us leadership. They teach us how to stand up to bullies. They teach us how to set goals. They teach us how to fight for what we want. They teach us accountability. They teach us how to peer-to-peer regulate. They teach us how to lead. There's so many things that sports teach us as adults that stick with us throughout our lives. And so at the end of the day, one, I'm looking to get kids to start dreaming again. Because I don't see enough.
You don't think the iPhones are good enough?
My parents, they'll tell you, I say, those aren't phones, those are computers, so let's use them for what they are. Mm-hmm. And they give us access to so much history and so much knowledge, and so many kids have access to knowledge that they're not necessarily exercising and using. And the moment you take that toy and you convert it into something that is a tool that can help you accomplish your dreams, it becomes a very powerful thing. So one, teach them to dream. 2, teach them how to accomplish the dream. And 3, teach them how to be accountable for that. Because at the end of the day, we all design our lives the way we want them to be. And I think if we can get that message to kids at a young age, it will make a huge difference in all of our tomorrows.
And that, I think, is the core message, And for the listeners and just parents or anyone who is around children, it's exposure a lot of times. If they don't have a direction, something to key, like, oh, have you ever thought about magic? No. Let me show you a quick magic trick.
Yep.
And then they might be interested.
Absolutely.
Then they can go and research, and I'm not saying every child's going to be, a magician. They should be, my opinion, but it's kind of the same thing. Expose the children or young adults to other things and see how they grow.
Absolutely. A very good friend of mine named Pat Burke, he has a program here in Lake County called Hoops Life.
Yes.
Amazing program. He nailed it for me yesterday. We were talking about this. He said, Allison, your room had trophies and plaques and gold medals in it. But some kids, they don't have a room like that. So I want to give them that room.
And if anybody wants information, what's your website again?
PFXathletics.com.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much, Allison, for joining us on the show. And that absolutely concludes the show. So this has been Radio Waves. I'm your host, Chris Poliquin. We'll see you next time.